Hey, Pastor Dave here. Is the New Testament anti-Semitic? Let's talk about that. Recently, I was in a discussion with someone and he posted the anti-Jewish rhetoric of the New Testament has been the main source of Jew hatred throughout history. Well, let me dispute that claim. Let me dispute the whole idea and concept that the New Testament is anti-Semitic. 3 points. First of all, Jesus was a Jew. The apostles were all Jews. The apostle Paul, who wrote such a huge chunk of the New Testament, was a Jew. And they were not self-loathing. So if they were Jews, and why then would the New Testament be accused of anti-Semitism? Well, it doesn't make sense. But what was happening is that there was strong words of law against the Jewish people, at least those who rejected Jesus Christ. And that's no different than what we see in the Old Testament. This is important. So point number one was Jesus and the apostles were Jews. Point number two, what we see in the New Testament, words of law against some Jewish people, those who reject Christ, is really no different than what we see in the Old Testament. So, for instance, in the book of Jeremiah, and I believe it's chapter 14, God says to Jeremiah, do not pray for the welfare of this people, talking about the Jewish people. When they fast, I am not going to listen to their cry. When they offer burnt offerings and grain offerings, I'm not going to accept them. Rather, I'm going to make an end of them by the sword, famine, and pestilence. Now, of course, if they repented, would God have done that? Obviously not. Of course not. That wouldn't have happened. But the point of the matter is, and that passage I just read is not even one of the strongest passages against the rebellious Jewish community in Jeremiah's day. You find this sort of thing in various places in the Old Testament. What is it? Jeremiah is not self-loathing any more than the apostles were. But Jeremiah is declaring a strong word of law to those Jews who had rebelled against God and followed after and worshipped false gods and committed all sorts of injustices. The last point I want to make about that is that the New Testament isn't the source of anti-Semitism, the main source. It's not even a source. The source of anti-Semitism is the sinful flesh. We should not tolerate anti-Semitism, but rather we should do what Jesus told us to do. For instance, in Matthew chapter 4, Jesus says, but I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of the Father who is in heaven. For he causes the sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? So this is Jesus' command to his people, that we love our enemies. I think a source of anti-Semitism could be failing to distinguish between what is the role of God and what is the role of the Christian. The role of God is the one, he's the one that brings temporal and eternal punishment. But it is the role of the Christian to, one, speak the truth of God's word, both in its beautiful, wonderful grace and in its very harsh and convicting law. But also, our vocation is to love our neighbors as ourselves, and as Jesus says here, to love our enemies. There is no room for anti-Semitism, not in the Christian church. The New Testament is not the source of that, but the flesh is. So y'all have a wonderful day. Remember that Jesus does indeed love you.